In this video, I'm going to show you some revolutionary ways to do product research directly on Facebook Marketplace in and of itself, okay? Now, I'm going to show you multiple methods in this video, but the key here is we're staying on Marketplace to figure out what's selling well on Marketplace, okay? And it sounds simple, right? Like it's common sense, but like what a lot of people teach, and obviously I have lectures on this as well because it works very well, is like use other marketplaces like Amazon or eBay, for example, and run software or do product research on those marketplaces to figure out what's selling well on those. Because if something's selling well on those and there's demand on those, chances are a similar product is also going to have similar demand on Facebook Marketplace. Makes sense. It works well, but this works a lot better. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to actually find in-demand products that are already not guesswork. Like these are selling on Marketplace, and then you can go ahead and list them. I'll show you how to find them, etc., etc. So there's really two main ways to do this. Okay. And I'll briefly touch on both of them, but this has been a revolutionary thing in my dropshipping business. And I used to do this a lot more, kind of got away from it, but I'm definitely getting back into it because there are some other ways and methods that I'm going to touch on, obviously, that also work very, very well. So I recommend doing them all, but this is definitely one of the best, okay? So first and foremost is you can find like a Facebook dropshipping group. So a Facebook Marketplace dropshipping group. This is just one of them. There's, I don't know, 20 out there that I know of specifically, but this is just one example of one. And typically what you'll see in these groups is, what used to happen on eBay, let me backtrack a little bit, right? Is if you were dropshipping on eBay, the easiest way to figure out what to drop ship and do your product research was to find another drop shipping store and snipe their best products, right? Figure out what's selling well for them, list other similar products or list that product as well, and then you could steal some of their sales. And the same thing, it literally happens on Marketplace, right? And so because everybody in these groups literally talk, in the group and kind of advertise that they're sellers, because A, they wouldn't be in this group if they're not a Facebook dropshipper, right? That's common sense. And B, you can also look to see like who's selling well because people even, shout out or say that they're selling well to brag. Okay. So you can go after both, like literally everybody, because you know that they're a Facebook dropshipper, or just people that are saying that they're selling well. Right. So that's the first and foremost. So for example, let's scroll down and like just look at some of these posts. Anyone experience more pending orders than usual? I've got 11 pending. So like we know that this person's selling. So we'll bring her up. Yup. We know that that person's selling. We'll bring them up. 9 out of 13 orders I have right now are pending. We'll bring them up. And like these are going to be bad examples of random people. I don't know if these people sell well. I don't know if they sell bad, but we're just kind of showing you how to actually do this. Or you could scroll down and find something where like people are saying and shouting out like they're selling, right? So like this person doesn't really have that great of stats, but they said like their shop's performing. So like we could check out this person. A lot of times you'll see a post that's like, hey, I just cracked 10K this month, or hey, I finally got my first $1,000 day, right? And then those people are prime targets, obviously, because you know that they're selling well, right? So that's the first step. Find a couple people that you think are selling well by doing some research within a Facebook dropshipping group. Is common sense, okay? Now the next step is to literally take those people, take their name, and often so I'm copying this person's name. Often if you go into to view their main profile, you can figure out where they're located. So this person is located, it doesn't look like they tell you. Some people will tell you, some of them won't. I don't think it's, okay, so yeah. No, it's not telling me where she's at. That's fine. What we basically want to do is you can come in and search that person in Marketplace. And you can broaden out so if I'm searching right now, I'm in Los Angeles, California, within 500 miles. It's the broadest that you can be, right? But what you can do is you can change this to like New York City. You can change this to like Houston, Texas, and go into the middle of the country. You can change this to like Florida and go into like the southwest or southeast, right? Like you can move your location around and expand your radius out so that your search is happening in different parts of the US as broad as possible, right? So I'm just going to stay in California just to show you, but obviously you can change that and continue searching for the same person. Let's see if we can find their profile and see if they pop up, right? So clearly these are all the listings that potentially fit under this person's name. So let's just open a couple. Let's drag this over to the right. We'll open a couple and see if we can find the seller. All of these look like generic stock images. Chances are, one of these is probably the seller, and I bet you will find them. So their name is Palm Nugent. So you want to click on the listing here, scroll down. This person's clearly drop shipping. You can tell right here by the way that their listing's set up. And that's the person right there. She's got 235, reviews. So prime target for for some product research. So let's just like, we'll open up like YouTube just as like a barrier, so we know that these are all the prime targets right here. And then you can literally look and see all their listings, right? Now that's great in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to show you other examples. So we already found her, so we can just move on to a different person. But I want to touch on this a few steps deeper, because there's steps to this process. So now that we found them super easily, and that's not always going to happen that easily. Sometimes you'll find them, sometimes it'll be more difficult, sometimes you won't find them. Just move on to other sellers. There's plenty of people to snipe. So you know that firsthand, these are all their listings, right? Now, there's two ways to basically do the next step. First and foremost, you can scroll down through all their listings, because often you'll see like sold, 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 sold. And Facebook Marketplace has started marking certain people that are selling a lot of their items as sold. And then you can literally see what's sold for them in the past and copy all those same listings by opening them up in a new tab. And again, then doing more product research with the next step that I'm about to show you. It doesn't look like Facebook's marking this seller's item sold, because I'm not seeing any. So they're slowly rolling that feature out. It happens on some sellers. It doesn't happen on other sellers. And so that's why this works so well. Now, if you're not seeing the sold, obviously that's a great way to find them. Like if this was sold, like if this had a sold marking, then I would open this up in a new tab and I would do more product research on that and try to find out, like by reverse engineering, where that actually was sourced from. So then I could list the same product for, a similar margin, or even a little bit of a lower margin or a higher margin, right? But since I'm not seeing this, what I basically want to do is I want to keep this person's profile up, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back maybe in an hour. This is how I do product research. This is also how I tell, specifically on Facebook Marketplace, this is also how I tell my VAs to do product research. They'll have like 20 tabs of different sellers that are targets up. And then every like hour or so, what they'll basically do is they'll refresh the page, and nothing's going to have changed here because literally like 20 seconds went by. But what will happen is if you refresh the page, it'll come back to the listing. You then scroll back down and you click the person's name on their profile. And what happens is, I don't even know if this moved or not. I wasn't paying attention. But like what happens is you'll notice like every so often there'll be a new listing right here at the top, or there'll be like 2 or 3 listings at the top that are new. So you want to remember what the last image was, like what the last listing was. Refresh the page, go back into the seller. And if this has moved over one and there's a new thing here, that either means that they've edited that listing, and that's why that's the new listing, right? They've sold that listing, right? Or they've listed something new. So typically, when you do this over and over and over again, you can slowly start to see what's selling well for them, because if you keep refreshing it every so often and things keep moving to the front by doing the product research on sellers like this, then you'll start to see what's selling well for them, because those items will constantly come back to the front. And you'll be like, that's a key. That's an item I want to go after, because that's constantly at the top of their marketplace listings because it's constantly selling, right? Does that make sense? So let me show you another example. Let's find this person right here, Frankie Arizape. Not to put these people on blast or anything. I'm not trying to like dox them or anything, but I'm just trying to show you examples, and this is how it works, right? I'm just being real. A lot of people won't show you this. Let me get a little sip of water. So searching that person, they're clearly not listing within 500 miles of California, or they're not listing under that name. So I would assume they're probably listing somewhere else in the country, or they're not listing under the name, because you're not seeing anything here, right? And all these are just like Frankie keywords. So what I would do is the next step is like change this to New York City within 500 miles, and then do a search on like the East Coast, see if I can find them. For the sake of just showing you somebody else really fast, I'm just going to pull up someone else's name. Let's try this guy, see if he's listing in Los Angeles. We'll search his name in the marketplace, and nothing was pretty much found for this guy, right? No listings for Matt found. Yeah, so we didn't find him. So let's search for Sherlock Roman. And there's nope, all these are just Sherlock Holmes. So let's pull up a few more examples here within the group. So like Logan Parr is one. Well, this person's asking like, can you make it? 6 months, no sales. We don't want to target them. I don't really understand how you get no. So let's target this person. Let's target. This person. Let's target this person. We'll just do a few searches here. So we'll go after Joanne Wilcox. Where's the? There we go. Joanne Wilcox. We didn't find her. How about Ian? Didn't find him. How about Chris Holland? No, maybe these. We'll see. Doubt it though. Obviously, the first one was the easiest, and that's kind of funny. It doesn't always work that well or that way. So this person's clearly dropshipping. You already tell they're using stock images. The way that they've kind of listed this, with emojis and the way that they've spaced it out, it's pretty obvious. So we found Chris Holland. There he is, right there. So this is also funny, and this is, just to go off on a little tangent here. So there's a lot of YouTubers out there, number one, and obviously there's a lot of people in like these Facebook groups that like claim that they're making a lot of money doing this, and like they could by all means have multiple accounts. Don't get me wrong, right? Like I'm not sure, but there's been countless examples. I'm not trying to like put anybody on blast, so I won't name any specific names. But like I've gone out and literally sniped other people and watched them for weeks, if not like a month, right? So I've seen like how much their reviews go up on certain profiles. Some people have multiple profiles, and I found multiple profiles for them. And I've watched like literally how many of their listings move, as well as how much their ratings go up. And like, it's clear that they're not selling even close to what they're claiming. So a lot of that's BS. So like, just be careful, a little caveat, like be careful who you're actually listening to. Cause a lot of people, there's a lot of money to be made essentially in telling people that you know how to do this, even if you don't, right? If that makes sense, right? Whereas like, you really want to trust, but verify. So like, by all means, like listen to what I'm saying. Obviously I know that I'm doing this and I know that I'm making money doing this, but like, trust, but verify as well, right? I don't care if it's me. I don't care if it's somebody else. Like, don't always believe, face value that somebody's doing what they're saying that they're doing. I've seen, because I've sniped countless people that have said that they're doing great with this, and it's clear that they're not, okay? Well, a little tangent there, but like, obviously, like this dude right here, that's why I started to go off on a tangent. Like he was, where was he? Maybe it was up a little bit. I don't know. He was literally one person. He's always commenting in this group, so I see him. And like he was in the one thing basically saying like he was doing so well. I'm not going to go out and find it, but basically he was saying he was selling a lot. And like clearly his main profile right here, granted he could have another profile, right, that I haven't found, but like he has 36 ratings, which is not that great. He's clearly just started. And yeah, he's listed a lot, but like, if I sniped him for a while, chances are a lot of these listings wouldn't be selling. Moving as much as he's saying he is, right? Like not trying to put him on blast. I'm just trying to use it as an example. So that's what kind of brought it to mind. But like, again, now that we found him, I would keep him up here. I'd keep her up here. I'd come back in an hour, or I'd tell my VA to watch these people. I'd refresh the listing. So obviously the lawn tractor was there. In an hour from now, chances are like either the lawn tractor would still be there, and then I knew he didn't edit any listings, didn't list anything new, or, hasn't sold anything. Or if the lawn tractor moved over one to this one, or over a couple, and there was a couple new listings here, then there's a high likelihood that some of those listings were sales, and then I should go ahead and list them. Now, if you watch him for, a couple weeks, or you watch him for a couple days, and then you figure out like what his, by literally watching and sniping his listings and figuring out what moves to the front frequently, you can find his best listings, snipe them, figure out where he's actually getting them from, list them yourself, potentially undercut them. And a lot of times you don't even need to undercut people because Marketplace doesn't necessarily work like that yet. Okay. So now the next step there, now that I kind of, touched on that with you really briefly of how to actually snipe certain people, what happens here is, what you can do is like, let's say hypothetically we found out that this was a good listing to list, right? So let's drag it over. Well, then I just right click on the listing, and maybe like there was a couple good listings here. I would literally right click on the listing, and then I would just copy the title, because most people don't change the title, and most people still list from Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Home Depot, all like the main retailers. So like chances are the majority of people that you're going to be sniping from are also going to be listing from these similar retailers, and they're too lazy to change the title. So we're going to search Google for this and figure out where this came from. Let's find the picture, this picture, that picture, that picture. Let's try Amazon. So usually you see it pop up right here. He might have changed the title slightly. He also might have taken the brand name out. And I'm obviously would go through this a little bit slower here, but you could do one of two things. You could do a little bit of product research, try to figure out where he actually sourced this from, or you could just list, because once you figure out that like this is a good listing, then you know specifically like lawn tractor leaf bags are clearly, selling well, right? So that's one way to approach it. You can list other similar items like this, or you can go out and figure out exactly where they sourced it from and sell that exact one as well, okay? So it's probably, on Amazon or Walmart or Home Depot or one of those. But for the sake of not wasting your time, I'm not going to, really kind of dumb it down and show you. Let's try to find this one. Same thing. We would just copy it, right click, search Google. And this is like Mound Tech Professional 44. It might even just be this one. That looks very, very similar to what he listed. And it looks like he's not listing all the pictures. Is that a similar one? Very, very similar. So this is either the listing or it's something very, very similar like this. So you could either list this one, you do more product research, or you can list similar LED nail lamps, obviously from Amazon or any other supplier that you want, right? And so that's basically one of the methods to kind of reverse engineer and snipe different people from groups, okay? So that's one of the ways that you can do it. It's very, very easy to approach it. And once you figure out the right people that are selling well, then you can obviously watch them, snipe their best listings, reverse engineer where they got them from, or list other similar items like that, and then you'll have a higher likelihood of obviously doing really, really well like those people are. Now, the next way is very, very similar, but it's a little bit better in my opinion. So without like targeting people in groups, because there's something like that doesn't feel inherently right about that, although that is a method that I've used in the past. So I'm just sharing you what works, sharing with you what works well for me and has worked well for me as well. You can use that. It works great. Okay. One of the ways that you can take it a step further too is just search Marketplace for either private label brands that are associated with drop shippers, right? So we've covered this in a previous lecture on like basically how to reverse search on eBay, right? So we covered that previously. So you could search like a brand like Mainstays, for example, knowing that anybody listing Mainstays is either reselling a Walmart Mainstays product or they're drop shipping Mainstays from Walmart. You could also search literally any brand. You can literally search literally anything, right? So like you could search Mainstays as an example. Let me show you Mainstays. And then like, okay, let me find some Mainstay stuff. This right here, that's on discount, so like maybe that's not. But like we scroll down, like that looks generic and they have emojis in the title. That looks generic and they have emojis in the title, and also they're probably just using a review picture. That looks generic. That looks generic. That looks generic. And like chances are all these people right here are drop shippers. So like you can find, okay, this person might be a drop shipper. If they had more reviews, I might watch them. This person, 37, same thing. This person, 5, they're fairly new. Like you could watch any one of these people. This person's probably drop shipping if we looked at their store. And the key sign here is like if they have over 100 listings and like they're constantly listing things, this person's probably drop shipping and just using review images to try to make it look like they're a seller on Marketplace. This person's 37. Let me find a better one. So you could obviously do this with Mainstays, and that's something I did in the past. Or what you could do is you could search like a private label brand like Cobalt, for example, which is a Lowe's private label brand. Or you could search literally any brand whatsoever and find something like that. Or you could even search like any keyword, right? So it's almost Halloween. So a lot of people are drop shipping Halloween decorations. So if I searched Halloween decorations, let me show you another example of this. I can come down. I guarantee you a majority of these stock images are people drop shipping. So if I right click on a bunch of these, just to kind of see, let's find out who these people are. This person looks like a drop shipper. You can already tell because they have like the emojis in the title. Clear, just an obvious, thing. And they have 209 ratings. I guarantee you they have over 100 listings. And so this is a prime target person to watch, right? And the way that we found that is literally just searching for something that we knew was in demand or a private label brand, finding a drop shipper on Marketplace, and then we can snipe and watch their listings, right? This person right here doesn't have any reviews, so they might have just started. We will skip them. This person just started. We'll skip them. Again, just started. We'll skip them. This person looks like this is a page, so this is somewhere we can definitely watch and figure out what's, working for them. So if you just go to their shop, you can see like what's been selling well for them in their shop. Same approach in shop is like, we just want to keep refreshing and seeing what kind of moves to the front of their shop. And then that's basically how you approach it, right? Like you either find somebody in a group, Or this is another perfect example. Joseph Foster right here with 140 reviews, right? I guarantee you has over 100 listings. He does. He's clearly drop shipping. And so these are prime targets to watch, right? So this is a way that you can basically use Facebook Marketplace to literally find in-demand products, find other drop shippers, and snipe their best listings.